Hello and welcome to Inside Iraq. I'm Jassim Azzawi. Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki has embarked on a ferocious campaign of Ba'ath vilification. He threatened alleged Ba'athists with a black day. His Sadrist colleagues warned suspected Ba'athists with physical liquidation. Karbala's Province Council advised all Ba'athists to flee the province or else. Basra's governor threatened to shut down all oil export and declare Basra a federal province if Ba'athist sympathizers are allowed to run for election. Given the current charged atmosphere, observers wonder, what happened to national reconciliation? Is Saddam in his grave stronger than Maliki's government? And is al-Maliki upholding the law or playing with fire?
Former Iraqi President Saddam Hussein may be dead, but his influence continues to provoke many Iraqis, such as these, chanting slogans against the Ba'ath Party of Saddam. 3 weeks ahead of general elections, this demonstration is a show of support for the Shia-led government, which wanted to ban any candidates with alleged links to the Ba'athists. But critics of the government say such demonstrations are staged by Shia parties, wanting to boost their own chances of winning by supporting any ban on rivals. The critics claim the government wants to deflect attention away from its own shortcomings.
Frankly, what I see is the gross failure of the government, providing services and providing security and reducing unemployment and having a clear-cut foreign policy and trying to solve the problems of Iraq. To cover these failures, they are attacking others.
One of those blacklisted by the government is the popular Sunni politician Salah al-Muttalibi. He quit the Ba'ath Party over 30 years ago, but remains a frequent critic of the current government, accusing it of being a puppet of Tehran. Such an accusation highlights the major fault line among Iraqi politicians ahead of these elections. On one side stand those close to the government, who draw support from Iraq's Shia majority and who are more or less sympathetic to the government in Tehran. On the other side stand those who rely on support mainly from Sunni Arabs and secularists. Their political opinions range from Iraqi nationalism to pan-Arabism to open nostalgia for the Saddam era. Besides the internal politics, Iraq has become a battleground for a power struggle between the United States and Iran. And this makes for a highly inflammable setting for the upcoming elections. Stephanie Dutzer for Inside Iraq.
To discuss the motives and implications of the current campaign of Ba'ath vilification, I'm joined from Baghdad by al-Muttalibi, a political advisor to the Iraqi Ministry of National Dialogue, and from London by Iraqi analyst Anas al-Tikriti. Gentlemen, welcome to Inside Iraq. Anas, let me ask you the last question in my intro. Is al-Maliki upholding the law or is he playing with fire?
Jassim, I think that most people recognize electioneering when they see it. And whilst most people would appreciate that we did enter electioneering mode several weeks ago, practically, well, we are in election mode, but several weeks ago, every single stance and every single statement feeds into the election campaign. But this, I fear, this risks to actually drag the entire country back to the brink. One thing that we were all looking forward to, and you and your viewers will recognize that I'm an incredible, fierce critic to the entire political structure that was set up in 2003. But we were looking forward to this coming election as being some sort of landmark and turning point in the history of Iraq in terms of us transcending the sectarian lines that were drawn over the past 6-7 years. Unfortunately, it seems that there are elements, and particularly al-Maliki, surprisingly, who initiated the national reconciliation effort a couple of years ago and insisted that that was his slogan. It seems that now he is hell-bent on drawing the entire country back to where we were 3-4 years ago. There is nothing good that can come from this.
Not only that, al-Muttalibi, but the appeal panel that was constituted and empowered by Iraqi parliament to look into the banning of candidates has just given its verdict, and that verdict is it's going to exclude many of those on the list, primarily Saleh al-Mutlaq and Dhafar al-Ani. How will that impact the political process? Many people fear that violence may come back with vengeance.
No, definitely no. Definitely no return to violence. The rulings have clearly indicated that a political section of or sector of people in Iraq will not be able to participate in the coming elections, and those are the Baathists. Those Baathists were initially under Item 7 of the Constitution, were barred from entering politics and entering the political life in Iraq. Therefore, I personally don't see any change in what is happening. The hype, the excitement that took place was directed because Mr. Saleh al-Muttalibi name was mentioned within the list. Him as being an activist within the political process, but within the last 4 years he has proved.
But Saad, if I may interrupt you, the actual hilarity of this particular situation is that Dhafir al-Ani and Saleh al-Muttalibi have both been members of the parliament that drew up the constitution, that approved of Article 7 that you're talking about over the past 6-7 years. Why now? Why come up with this particular decision now, if not to actually inflame tensions that we were hoping were left to lie this time round and hopefully allow us to depart from violence? Why now? They were part of the parliament that you sit in, al-Maliki sits in. They were part of approving the constitution that now they are being vilified for. As well as that Article 7 that you mentioned. It also mentions, besides the Baathists, it also mentions sectarian parties. Are you telling me that there are no sectarian parties who are going to fight this coming election?
All sectarian, and as you clearly said, sectarian, Baathists, whatever, they are to be banned from coming elections. The list, you mentioned only 2 names, but the list was mainly constituted of 2/3 Shiites and 1/3 Sunni, the people who were excluded from participating in the elections. So there is no question about this is being pointed against a particular section of society, sector of society. It's not a sectarian issue, it's a political issue.
That the defense minister is also excluded?
Because he was an ex-Baathist. And if we see, this is the point. I don't decide, nobody decides. There is a database. The database, when
Mr.
you put a name and
Saad,
it comes up with
Saad,
a red mark.
How many of your colleagues were ex-Baathists? How many of your colleagues, how many Iraqis do you know whom you work with today were ex-Ba'athist? How many leaders of parties that are going to fight the next elections were ex-Ba'athist? More than 78% of the Iraqi people had to become Ba'athist in the past. All along, this law was a wrong, immoral law, simply because it was inoperable, and secondly because it would reach people who had to join the Ba'ath party simply because of the brutal regime
Before
of the past.
He answers the question, Anas, the governor of Baghdad, Saad al-Muttalibi, the governor of Baghdad has threatened to dismiss all Baathists from office.
Will I have a chance to reply, or will I be attacked from both sides?
Go ahead.
I love it like this, but please give me a chance to reply back. Yeah, the regulation is against leaders who are of a high-ranking Ba'athist. I know many ex-Baathists who are on lower grade, let's say, the rank and file, and there's nothing against them. They are living their life in a most normal circumstances. We're talking about few individuals who were high on the Ba'ath party leadership, let's say, board, whatever, and those people are the targeted. We're not talking about the ordinary Ba'athist. Anyway, the idea is that the Ba'athists were preparing to come, as we see it, with force into the next election. I mean, I have information of a division leader who was Ba'athist, who forged a letter saying that he was kicked out of Ba'ath Party in '91. And after the clarification, it was cleared that it was a forgery. He was not kicked out of the Ba'ath Party. He was an active member of the Ba'ath Party.
What we are talking about, Saad al-Muttalibi, not only the exclusion of the Ba'athists, we are talking about a well-orchestrated campaign by the government, and no less than by the Prime Minister, of Ba'ath vilification and scare tactics. The Prime Minister has threatened anybody, Ba'athist or Ba'athist sympathizers, with a black day. meaning perhaps it's a physical liquidation, and that has been repeated several times from Karbala and from Basra. The Sadrs, they have threatened people to leave Karbala, otherwise God knows what's going to happen to them.
Please. No, please, let's not take things out of their context. The Black Day is the election day. It will be a black day for Baathists on the 7th of March when people vote for non-Baathists. This is the Black Day he was talking about and we are talking about. As for the matter of Karbala and Najaf,
this is the first time I hear the expression Black Day, meaning I'm going to defeat you through the ballot box. My understanding of Arabic, Yom Aswad, it means blood.
No, black, it's not blood. Blood is red. We're talking about a black day for the Baathists, where the Baathists will be totally and once and for all.
But Saddam al-Muttalibi, they are not allowed to run. They are not allowed to run. So how can he defeat them through the ballot boxes?
Yeah, no, they will not be allowed to run. They will not be allowed to participate. The reconciliation in Iraq was never meant to be between the new Iraq and the Baathists. It was meant to be between the new Iraq and the people who have objections of the way the new Iraq was formed.
If I may once again interject, Jassim, because my question remains unanswered. The two people whose blocking has been upheld by the appeal, that's why I mentioned Salih Mutlaq and Dhafir al-Ani particularly. By the way, I am no apologist for the Baathists. Myself, my immediate family, none of us have ever been at any stage supporters of the Ba'ath Party. However, this is something that touches on the very fabric of Iraq, simply because whether we like it or not, this is the kind of phase that God tried us with. This is what we went through, and this is what people had to endure in order to survive. And therefore, for now, for a particular element, and particularly for al-Maliki, and who called on for this national reconciliation, to do this at this moment of time. And that's my question. Saad, why now? These people have been members of parliament, have taken part in drawing up the constitution, including Article 7, for the past 7 years. Why wait a few weeks before the elections to bring this about? This is entirely wrong. Plus, I once again asked, the article states sectarian parties. It also bans sectarian parties. Are you seriously telling me that now, after the Baathists, there are no sectarian parties? That is absolutely ludicrous. The crimes committed by the Baathists are undeniable. What about the crimes undeniably committed by parties who are going to be running on the 7th of March, ya Saad? That is the problem. That is what the Iraqi people are asking about.
Wonderful, wonderful. Can I answer now? If you incriminate yourself, that becomes a proof of your alliance with one direction or the other. Unfortunately, Mr. Salih al-Mutlaq and Mr. Dhafir al-Ani, within the last few years, they have incriminated themselves. They put themselves in jeopardy. Nobody put them there. They declared, it's open on Al Arabiya News. He was talking and he was praising the Ba'ath Party. He was saying how great that party was. Unfortunately, he incriminated himself. Therefore, there's nothing really we could do to protect him. And as for the sectarians, yes, if anybody incriminate themselves on a sectarian basis, they will be kicked out. It's not matter. We are not talking here of being nice to this guy and that and not nice to the other. It's a universal database that look at everybody. Whoever is breaking the law will pay. And I hope that you come and see the process from
Saad al-Muttalibi, all these justifications and clarifications unfortunately does not hold water. At the bottom of this, at the very heart of the issue is power, and that is power in the hand of al-Maliki. And let me just quote you exactly what he said. He said it in Arabic, so let me say it in Arabic first and then I'll translate it in English. He said, الآن بعد ما أخذناها أكو أحد يقدر يأخذها من عندنا? Now that we have power, will we allow anybody to take it away from us? That's basically what it is. They will resort to anything in order to stay in power.
Before all that, there is an election. If Maliki and the state of law gain a majority within the parliament, then they will be able to form the new government. He was, the sentence you're talking about, he was talking to some tribesmen who were telling him that you should do this, that, you should do that. And he commented, came as a natural comment back to tribesmen. It's not, of course, we know the whole struggle is about wealth and power. This is politics. And we know that people will do whatever possible to gain wealth and power. And we know the Baathists will do everything possible. The states are surrounding Iraq.
How about that, Anas? It's all about wealth and power.
They'll do everything they can.
I actually fear from this particular rhetoric, Jassim, because the Baathists have been out of power for 7 years. Yet, as you said in your introduction, it seems that the Baathists are still very much dictating our rhetoric, dictating our way of thinking, dictating even our elections. Saddam Hussein in his grave seems to be far more powerful and far more influential in the reality of Iraq than anyone presently sitting in power. And that saddens me, simply because it seems that once again, Iraq will be held to ransom because of its past. Iraq will not be able to look forward simply because of its past. Now retribution and revenge seeking through political areas and through semi-quasi sort of judicial channels are taking place as a result of its past. And that saddens me and fills me with fear. Once again, my question, and once again I insist, it has not been answered. Why now? These people have been sitting next to you side by side, working on many things
one more
for the
time,
past 7 years.
The third time is the charm. Go ahead, Saad, make it good.
No, I tried to answer. I said that they incriminated themselves in the last 3 years.
Why now? Why now, ya Saad? Why now? You said they started incriminating themselves many years ago. Why before the election?
Let me answer. Because there is a procedure. When you apply for the election, you have to